Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host for Season 6, Jeffrey Krentz.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, coming to you from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Pucking Business podcast, brought to you by both the Bamboozle Project and DraftKings. We always thank them for their support of our program. Go check out the bamboozleproject.com. You'll see all new MYPB gear since we were on with you last in July. I won't spoil what it is. I'll make you go there, but what does remain the same is when you do check out, use promo code MYPB and save yourself 20% off your entire order. This is episode 199, Ciento Noventa y Nueve. So if you're joining us using the SAP features available to you today, whenever you're listening to this episode, we welcome you. And we are taping this episode, just so you know where we are in time, on Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. You can DM us anytime on the Instagram platform at Mind Your Pucking Business, all one word. We definitely engage with you. We answer every single DM. It is one of our core values here at MYPB. And you can listen to the program anytime on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. And we are live. If you want to follow on the video feed and interact with us live on the show, you can do that on either YouTube or Instagram. We welcome you back. I would say to school, like back to school is in session. This is season 6 today, the season 6 debut of MYPB. Feels like the first day of school around here. I'll just smile at that. We'll leave the rest of that to your imagination here of what's been going on at the Undefeated Media Studios today. It's crazy to think that it was 5 years ago that we were on the first show. If you go back and watch the first episode, which is still out there on YouTube, you can easily find it if you want. You'll notice that times were different, the way that everything was set up, and it's crazy to think that 5 years later, here we still are talking about New York Ranger hockey. And for that, we owe you guys as the reason, and we thank you for that. And hopefully, there are big things ahead for season 6 for MYPB, as well as the hockey team that we cover, being the New York Ranger Hockey Club. And we are back. Happy to announce that we are back to weekly taping starting today. We've been off for the longest hiatus we've ever had in 5 years. We actually have not been on for 8 weeks, but now with hockey season right around the corner, we are back to weekly tapings. You look like you
I want to cry.
You look like you want to cry. I can see that in your eyes. But we'll try and
I'm happy, and I do want to cry. Season 6, the happiness, but a little stressful today, and everything blew up on me. So we apologize to our listeners
you look like it. Well, smile. Hopefully we're past the rough patch and we're into season 6.
Absolutely.
So let's recap, at least to date, what has been, I would say, in terms of quantity of moves, light by New York Rangers standards, but maybe some of those moves that they've made, even though they've been fewer than probably the average transactions this franchise does in off seasons, maybe we'll have some large ramifications. And if you're going to start by recapping the off season, I think you have to start really with the K'Andre Miller trade. If you go back to July 1st, K'Andre Miller had been rumored to be possibly traded for a while. That came to fruition on July 1st when he went to Carolina for a 2026 conditional first and second round pick, as well as a young prospect named Scott Morrow. Now, I would say, I feel like we usually have a pretty good gauge on how Ranger fans feel, like whether they're overwhelmingly positive about something, overwhelmingly negative, split down the middle. This is definitely a situation where there's overwhelmingly positive, and it's hard to imagine that you're not. And I think John Scott, who, if you remember, who had a very brief playing career with the New York Rangers and has gone on to become a pretty good NHL analyst, had said, quote, the other day, I don't think people realize how good the K'Andre Miller trade is. Drury basically turned K'Andre Miller into Gavrikov and then also added a first, a second, and that young prospect I just mentioned named Scott Morrow. So I think it's very hard to be against the trade. I have seen some people, very few, definitely the minority, that have commented or have told us, look, the way that things work around here, that K'Andre Miller, when he puts on that Carolina Hurricane uniform, he's going to somehow magically turn into a stud. Myself, I don't necessarily know that I would agree with that. I also would question that comment or that thought process with this. Define K'Andre Miller being a stud. Is he going to go to Carolina and score 25 goals a season? He's not. That's not the type of player he is. Could he be better in Carolina than he was last year in New York? Well, yeah, he can, but that's not saying much because of how terrible he was last year with a lot of the turnovers. But it's hard to get on the Keandre Miller trade and be anywhere type any sort of negative about it. That same day, Tuesday, July 1st, or a couple hours before he was signed or he was traded, the worst kept secret of the offseason for the New York Rangers was that they were going to try very, very hard to sign this defenseman that was becoming a UFA free agent from Los Angeles, and that is Gavrikov. My worry with it is I never had a problem with them signing him. My worry was, and my fear was, again, track record of this franchise was that they were going to find a way to overpay or give a stupid term on a deal. Knowing now what that deal that he got was, which is 7 years and $7 million, I think it's hard to dislike the deal. Do I think Gavrikov is going to be the next Brian Leach on Broadway? No. Do I think he's going to be the Adam Fox we saw 2 or 3 years ago? No. Do I think he's going to be, and I'll throw an old Ranger defensive name out there for you, in Sergei Zubov? Do I think he's going to be him? No. But it's hard to dislike a deal. And honestly, the way, if you look that the markets are trending these days, it's hard to look at a 7-year, $7 million deal and not like it. Also, one thing with this Gavrikov deal that I have not seen mentioned anywhere is no one is talking about the potential positives that his arrival on Broadway could have on what is going to be his impending defensive partner, and that is an Adam Fox. Adam Fox has never really had a steady partner on his left side, and he certainly hasn't had a steady partner that has the sort of offensive abilities of Gavrikov. So if you're signing a player who's complementary in style to Adam Fox that could hopefully jumpstart the play of said Adam Fox, that is also a positive potential here that I haven't seen talked about anywhere. Is yes, he can help the team overall, but if he can also help jumpstart Fox, and Adam Fox needs to be jumpstart. He hasn't, I'm not saying he's been terrible the last 2 years, but he hasn't been at the Norris Trophy winning Adam Fox. If it can jumpstart him a bit, that is another positive that can happen here. That would be very good in the signing. Will Cooley was also re-signed later that Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to go where I'm going to go and say something that I think is probably in the minority of people, and that's fine if you disagree with me. And that is that I never thought Will Cooley being re-signed here was the first thing that needed to be done, was a massive priority. I think it's good. I wanted him back. Again, I was afraid of them overpaying him, and they certainly did not with a 2-year deal at 3.9 per. I was shocked. We were in the Dominican Republic actually that day, and when they signed Cooley, and I had been on the phone all day because it's free agency day. July 1st is like a national holiday if you're a fan of hockey. And when I was looking to find out what was going on with the deal and then to find out what the term was, I was floored that Will Cooley took a deal of 2 years at $3.9 million, because that's really not a lot. So that's a very good job by Chris Drury and the front office. Knowing how good of a deal that it is, I think it's very hard to imagine anyone complaining about this deal at all. I'm going back and trying to rethink about the summer. I can't really think of anyone that I saw that was unhappy with this deal, and that makes a lot of sense. So the additions coming in was Cooley and Gavrikov, and the going away is Keandre Miller, and they also lost another defenseman, and that is Zach Jones, who did leave to go to Buffalo. Look, if you couldn't crack the lineup last year with this team being as atrocious as they were and the team being injured, that really should say all that you need to know about what management thinks of Zach Jones. And I say that both being in the short term of what they think about Zach Jones and the long term. I like the Zach Jones experiment to me. I've been saying for a while, if you listen to us, should have ended 2 years ago. It finally ended. So I'm not going to sit here and have any remorse about it. I know you know, Dougie Sticks, about my Zach Jones love.
Yeah.
Now,
him and Rim Sanity are probably tied.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. Who do you hate more, Zach Jones or Matt Rempe?
Let's hear it in the comments.
I don't, not sure.
You're
Well,
not
for
sure?
me,
It's equal.
well, you see, here's the thing. If you told me who do I hate more, Zach Jones or Matt Rempe, I probably would have to say Matt Rempe.
So now that you experience like Zach Jones is gone, now imagine it was Rempe who was gone and Zach Jones was still here. Would you feel different?
No, I'd feel relieved. It would be. I'm not relieved that Zach Jones is gone.
Okay.
I because he didn't play. It's the fact that Rempe plays and the hype that this guy gets. That if you told me that Matt Rempe was gone, it would almost just be a relief. I think that's the adjective I would use.
All right.
Where with Zach Jones being in Buffalo, it's not a relief. I don't really care. It's really irrelevant, to be
All right.
honest with you. Yeah, it would be that. So that's where we stand with the offseason moves. As I said, in terms of quantity of moves for a New York Ranger organization and the New York market, where they normally make a ton of moves, some good, some bad, usually more bad around here than good, it wasn't a plethora of moves, but I think that they can be substantial. And you have to like what Chris Drury did. He didn't go out and overpay for anyone terribly. He moved Keandre Miller with getting a fleecing back. He re-signed Cooley for such a short deal and not a lot against the cap. And the Gavrikov deal, if you look at market value at what similar players for him are signing for around the league, also a very good deal. So I do think Chris Drury to date, where we are on September 3rd, has had a pretty good offseason. A couple weeks ago, I don't know where this started, and if someone knows where this started, they can, certainly tell us. But a couple weeks ago, there was a lot of talk on social media about, and we're guilty of it here because we put up a graphic about it actually because it had been out there about who should be the captain of the Rangers. Right, the Rangers are going to name a captain. Who are they going to name as a captain? Remember something. And I'll remind myself because, again, we put this up on social media ourselves. So if we're going to blame the people that are buying into it, we're just as guilty as anyone. And that is that nothing has come from the team or there's any indication at all that the team is going to name a captain. Remember something with the Rangers. Nothing with this organization is ever leaked in advance. Go back to a cold Friday morning last December. Out of the blue at 11 o'clock in the morning, it comes out that Jacob Trouba was going to be scratched from that night's lineup against Pittsburgh. Then, 3 hours later, the captain at that time, Jacob Trouba, is traded 3,000 miles away to Anaheim. And then 3 hours later, in the dark at 5 p.m., because it does get dark at 5 p.m. in December, they announced the Igor extension. It should tell you that one day alone will tell you how crazy that day was, that nothing was leaked in advance. So if anyone thinks that there's any indication from the team that they have decided that they are going to name a captain, you're lying. There's been no indication. It's all social media driven. Is there a chance that they name a captain? You'd have to think, yes, most NHL teams have a captain, but this team has showed you last year and other years previously, they don't care about not having a captain. So don't think that it's a foregone conclusion that the season is coming. They're going to name a captain. If you wanted to look at this, and I think this is the way you have to do this. If you wanted to look at this and say, who were the nominees for captain? Like you were giving it out like it was an Oscar or an Emmy or something, right? Yeah. The nominees for the New York Ranger Captain Awards are
Remsanity.
It's absolutely not Remsanity. I would actually maybe give up my season tickets if it
Really?
was. But yeah, I might actually. I really might. I'm not, and that's not a joke. And I love my season tickets, right? And like my goal as a parent.
That's the last straw.
My goal as a parent is to pass them down to my kids one day. Same thing with my Knicks tickets. But if you told me if the Rangers sent us a thing like we've named a captain and it's Matt Rempe, there is a slight chance I might call my ticket reps at the Garden and say, you know what? Take my credit card off the file. I'm out of here.
What if they wanted to give the season ticket holders some power and like, here's the list of possible captains, and like it was like 4 players and Remsanity was one of them. Are you?
There's, I mean,
you're
you want to dream? You have a better chance. This is actually true. I'm going to think about. Well, no, I'm actually going to say it. I'm going to say it.
Okay.
You have a better chance of winning the $1.3 billion Powerball lotto tonight than Matt Rempe ever becoming the Rangers captain.
Ever? I mean,
ever. No. I will go on record as
Wow.
saying that. There's
Right.
no room for improvement for the guy. It's not like he's all of a sudden going to become a 40-goal scorer and be named the captain. We know who he is. He sucks.
All right. So who's our
So
list?
okay.
Who's our
So
potential
the
list?
nominees for I came up with 3.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to give 2. I'm going to give 2 names that I wanted to put in there, but I'm not because I'm going to be fair.
Okay.
And so here are my nominees for captain: Trocheck, Fox, and JT Miller. What I wanted to do, I'm not going to do it, but I wanted to put Lafreniere in there, thinking first overall draft pick, generational talent, going to be here a while. But then I thought about how terrible he was last year, and I can't even put him in the I can't even give him an opportunity.
Well, but playing aside and goals aside, do you see leadership qualities of him talking to other players?
Lafreniere? No. So I can't.
Yeah.
Now, some people may say, well, I think that Will Cooley should be in the discussion for captain, which I understand the argument, but I'm not going to take it. Because Will Cooley, while he was very good last year, and may I remind you, he also was very good in the first half of the year. The second half of the year, not so much. Wasn't terrible, but he had his peaks during the season. Would have to show that over a much longer period of time than one season and be consistent to be in the discussion. So Lafreniere and Cooley are not even getting nominated. They're not even getting nominated because they're going to get no vote. So I'm going to put it up to Trocheck, Fox, and JT Miller. I'm going to eliminate one, and it's not fair the way the criteria that I'm going to use to eliminate him.
Panarin.
Panarin's not in the discussion. Panarin's not a captain. I'm going to eliminate JT Miller. But I'm eliminating him for a reason I don't know is true. There have been plenty of rumblings over the years that JT Miller in Vancouver was a massive locker room issue, and he's not the best locker room guy. So if I know that said candidate has a potential of being a locker room issue, that's a massive red flag to me in his campaign to be captain. So I'm going to eliminate him.
Maybe, though, it's like if you can't beat him, join him. Maybe by making him captain and giving him, leadership, he takes that approach rather than if he's not a captain and he's like, a cancer in the locker room.
Yeah, it could.
But you're eliminating him right off the bat.
I'm eliminating him also because he hasn't been here that long.
Okay.
So now I'm down to Vincent Trocheck and Adam Fox.
Yeah.
I'm going to, again, when I come on here, I try to be fair and honest. I don't really like either. There's not like a runaway winner here to me. Like I look at Trocheck and Fox, and I think your reasons for why you would give it to either of them are different. Fox, you would look at it and you say he's younger. He's going to be here a while. He's won the Norris Trophy. I could stand by that argument. Trocheck, I think, is more of an in-your-face leadership guy, but he's older. So if I had to pick one, right? And I don't know that I want to pick one, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Trocheck. But I know that he's not going to get a captaincy here for 7 years. He's not going to, he's here for a longer time, but he's not going to be in the back end of a very bad back end contract. I would give it to Trocheck. But I'd be okay if Fox got it. If JT Miller got it, that would basically tell you the locker room issues are not as true as I've heard that they are. So then if that's cleared, JT Miller, I guess, is okay.
And one is, an average team. When do we have until the first game of the season that normally they name a captain?
The Rangers do things ass backwards. They could name it in December on a Friday morning with the Trouba trade.
All right, because I don't know who that is. Brian Hanslin says.
Yes, what's that?
Rangers not naming captain speaks volumes on how little the team has prioritized. Brian, I don't have capabilities of pulling up comments. It's on you today. But I can see. I mean, you do need leadership. That does make sense.
I would like
Dying
them
from 2 feet away.
I would like them to name a captain. If you told me, do you want them to name a captain or not? I would say yes. I
Mhm.
have to give you an answer. Yes,
Yeah.
because you're right. I think it speaks to someone taking on the leadership role as a voice in the locker room, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
Do I think it is a necessity? No.
And like, don't you think that someone is already like, when like, break it down, like 1, 2, 3 team, like, don't you think there's a guy that's already like
There,
showing those qualities?
there probably is. There probably is someone there
There's gotta
in the
be.
locker room that the players themselves go to for leadership. Now, that person might have been Chris Kreider. We don't know.
Mhm.
But right now, if you had to pick someone, it would be Trocheck. The other issue that has come up in the last few weeks, although Mike Sullivan brought it up, the new coach of the Rangers, by addressing it. So
Mhm.
I don't like, if you look at it and you say to yourself, well, why is it an issue? Well, Mike Sullivan talked about it. So now therefore it's going to be an issue. And that is, do you start Mika for the season on the wing for JT Miller, where he played mostly at the end of the season since JT was acquired from Vancouver? Or do you keep him at his natural born position, which is center? So I try to look at lines. I don't go crazy with line combinations because lines are never set in stone. As you know, with the Rangers, particularly in the last few years, and I think Gerard Gallant was really the man behind this, that they will adjust players' lines in game a lot too. So where they start game one versus Pittsburgh in the first period, where is Mika Zibanejad? Although we kind of have our answer, which I'll get into in a minute, doesn't mean that he's going to be there the fourth game of the year when they play Washington on October 12th. It's not. It doesn't go hand in hand,
Mhm.
right? So you can start somewhere, but if it doesn't work, you simply adjust and change it. Like, let's not pretend here this is that difficult to do. When you see what he did as a center last year, and he didn't have a good year, anyone that sits here and says to me that Mika had a good year last year, I'm not sure what you were watching. I can get into the fact that his stats weren't what they normally are, and that is factual, right? I'm not giving you an opinion there,
Mhm.
but my opinion, what really bothered me about Mika is he seemed just so not engaged, right? And he
Mhm.
got more engaged, it seemed, when JT Miller got there. Now it might be because some of the pressure, and we know that Mika is a guy who has in the past seemed to be mental and he wears a lot of stuff on his sleeve, and I don't have a problem with that. But when you see that and you take some of the burden that JT Miller might have taken off of his shoulders playing on the wing, I would start him at the wing. And it sounds like that's exactly what Mike Sullivan intends to do. So I would start him. I would start him on the wing for JT Miller, but I think overall you're going to see a lot of line shuffling in the beginning of it. And as Guardo is saying up in Rhode Island, you get paid $8 to $10 million, play like it. He's absolutely right. The contract that Mika is getting, you have to produce to that contract. He's absolutely right. The only thing I will say, and you're right that he is a center, but if I said to you right now he's going to put up better stats as a wing versus a center, he's got to put up where he's going to put up with it. But should he be playing center and get past the mental stuff for what he's getting paid? 100%. I would agree with that. So,
Is there a world where maybe he's on line 2 now because JT, whoever's playing better, is on line 1, and
no. No, JT Miller will be on the top line.
I'm
I
talking about Mika too. So both of them are playing together, first line, no matter what.
Yeah. I would think, well, not no matter what. If Mika's not going to center, then he's not on the same line as JT Miller. But Mike Sullivan has seemed to make it seem like he did kind of show you his hand a little bit a couple weeks ago and made it seem like he's going to the wing, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't get that engaged in the line stuff because you can change it at any minute. People seem to think sometimes like He's playing the whole season on wing. No, you moron. He's starting game 1 on wing. He could be playing in the second period in game 1 at center. They might adjust it. I'd also be curious to see, because in the 6 preseason games that the Rangers have, if you know how it works, and I'm sure B-Rock could agree with me, because I only know how the Rangers do it, but I'm sure every team does it, where you're not playing everyone every game anyway. I would think you're going to get a hint where if Mika Zibanejad and JT Miller are dressing at the same game and they're playing on the same line, obviously that's the team's plan. So there's plenty of time to get into details more with the Rangers, obviously, in the next couple of weeks. Preseason starts in 2 weeks. But when you look at the roster or even the projected lines, like one of the big Ranger pages on Instagram, I want to say it was NHL Ranger Post, put out the other day, like projected lines. And it's a total guess, right? Like people go crazy. Oh, why is Matt Rempe in the lineup? Why is Matt Rempe not in the lineup? We're just one guy guessing. Hello, people, relax. It's also Matt Rempe. He's not Wayne Gretzky. But I also would be concerned, and my takeaway when I saw that was that the depth issues beyond the top 6 and beyond the top pair of Fox and Gavrikov have me concerned. And I don't think that's the sort of thing that once you're into September is getting fixed or remedied in any major way, shape, or form between now and then. I mean, it could be wrong, but I highly doubt that there's going to be any major acquisitions. I think what you see on this roster is what you're going to get. Now, there's plenty of young issues that you could talk about. Where does Gabe Perreault play? Where is Othman playing? Edstrom. There's a lot of issues here, and some of those people could take those bottom 6 numbers. And if they take those bottom 6 numbers, by the way, okay, if they fulfill that need, well, then maybe the depth issue isn't there as much. But right now, the bottom 6 is a depth issue, and the defensive pairings beyond Fox and Gavrikov is a depth issue. But there'll be plenty of time. And
so
the
what
defense
you see is what you get right now. Maybe mid-season we'll make some moves, but what you see is what you get. And there's no like moves that you think we like should be pursuing.
No. I don't really even know like a name that's out there. I mean, first off, there's no free agent out there right now that would have any value at this rate because he would have been signed by any of the 32 NHL teams at September 3rd. And secondly, I don't think that there's a guy that's like rumored to be on the trade market. Drury doesn't have a lot to trade, right? If you don't think about it like this, if you don't have a lot of depth, okay, no one's going to want from you what we're considering to not be depth because it's not value to someone else. So I think honestly what you're going to get is what you get. Now Brian brings up a good point, and this is the other topic, and I didn't want to talk about it today, but I see it just came up on the YouTube feed.
Wow.
And that is trading Panarin. Now I'm going to regret because Chris is not here today with us in the chat room because of our time slot shift change. And Chris would have a field day with this. So I'm going to just take this topic on the surface, and then we'll save this for next week when we have most of the regulars back here. If you're going to get rid of Panarin, if you're going to trade Panarin, I'm going to answer this with a question that nobody ever answers. Gives me an answer.
So you're answering this no emotion, not like your whole family at home loves this player. You're answering this unobjectively.
So yes, my wife does love Panarin. We know this. Very good memory.
So everyone in the Krentzman household likes this player,
and my kids like Panarin.
Yeah. Actually. So like, are we answering this emotionally, or
no?
We answering this?
Here's my question.
Unbiased. Okay.
If you trade Artemi Panarin, okay. Again, this is my question for you. This is what I keep saying all the time, and nobody gives me an answer or solution that works. You're trading 2 years ago 120 points, and last year you're trading 90 points. If you do that, where are those points coming from? Because you need those points to get into the playoffs. Before you make some blank argument to me that he's terrible in the playoffs, and he's not, because he scored in Game 3 versus Carolina last year. He scored the overtime winner in Game 7 versus Pittsburgh 2 years ago. So that whole argument is stupid to begin with.
Okay.
But let's not even go to the playoffs, because if you trade those points in the regular season, That's a lot of points you're trading.
Mhm.
That's a lot of wins and points in the standings that came because of Artemi Panarin. Where are you getting that? Where are you getting those points back?
Mhm.
I
I
like
will
that term, playoff Aaron,
I will
on the
say
YouTube chat.
I
Yes.
will say the Ranger fan base, we are, very quick to throw the T word around, trade and get rid of, and
Yes, but that's New
there's
York.
no magic there's no magic wand here.
But look at last year, myself included, because
Mhm.
we talked about it here. So if we talk about it here, I I I don't like Mika. Everyone wanted to run out of town. Okay, everyone wanted Mika Zibanejad gone last year. He's making $8.5 million per year, and he's here to the year 2030. That's great, right? You have an argument to trade him, but
Mhm.
guess what? He has a no move clause. I don't care what you think. I don't care what Chris Drury thinks. If Mika Zibanejad doesn't want to leave New York City, it's in his contract. He doesn't want to leave New York City.
Mhm.
And one of the YouTube comments, wait, his points don't automatically translate to wins. But see, here's my thing is that they do translate to wins, because anyone, and Chris is the number one offender of this, and he's not here right now. He'll be back next week. It is I'll ask him all the time, where if you trade Artemi Panarin, where are you replacing those points? No one ever gives me an answer.
Well, even if you do basic math and you look at the season totals, you're going to be taking 90 points away from the offensive column, and the defensive column's still going to stay there.
That Brian guy in the comments had a pretty good point.
Which was what? You got to
Which
eat the
was
points
what?
this season and just hope for a big finish in the sexy free agent pool next year. Get picks in depth now, get your points back next year.
Come on.
I like that thought. However, you just signed a franchise goalie to an 8-year deal. You're not in a rebuild or any situation to tank. I understand what is being thought of here.
Mhm.
And there's a part of me that looks at Gavin McKenna, who's going to be the first pick next year, and the free agency class next year, which is McDavid, who's not leaving Edmonton, by the way, or Kiprusoff and some of these other guys, and think to myself, wow, they can restock. Dolan and Drury are not going to throw away a year and just say, well, we're going to be bad this year and retool for next year. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
The logic is not wrong. Chris is here. Here we go. Now we go. See, I just woke him up in the YouTube. Let's see what he says. If you say winning the President's Trophy and losing in the playoffs is failure, talk about Panarin's points the same way. But Chris, I've asked you this off the air a million times, and I've asked this to anyone that is anti-Panarin that wants to get rid of him. If you're going to get rid of 120 points, 120 point player, where are you? You have to replace that somehow, and nobody has ever given me a solution,
Inkling.
to tell me this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And until somebody does, I don't.
Yeah, it's not like Lafreniere's playing ridiculously awesome that you can like.
And we'll bring in Allie, who's here, that New York Ranger girl, who, by the way, if you have TikTok, I am terrible with TikTok. My daughter is like the TikTok expert in the house. But if you're a Ranger fan, follow her on TikTok. I believe it is all one word, that NY Ranger girl. If I'm wrong, you can DM us and I'll point you in the right direction, because she's got like daily stuff that's great. But she brings up the point, I don't know where the delusion of McDavid coming to New York came from. Connor McDavid. Now, Dan Rosen, who might be on with us next week, actually, from the NHL.com senior writer, has said to me multiple times, nobody in the NHL thinks he's leaving Edmonton, right? If you were the owner of the Edmonton Oilers, who's Daryl Katz is his name,
Mhm.
you have it's beyond generational, right? An all-time stud.
Mhm.
How do you let him leave? You have a year before he even would hit
Yeah.
the UFA market next July 1st. He's never coming to that. He's not leaving Edmonton. We can all dream about it. Yeah, I would love it to happen, but I'd love to win the $1.3 billion Powerball tonight too. That's not going to happen either.
And there's no like bad blood or butting heads. Like everyone's happy go lucky over there, right?
So let's pull up Guardo from Rhode Island's two questions. And hopefully Chris is still here. I can't see who's here, but that is the bottom two, which is who is replacing Panarin? Answer that question. And why don't you open that the next one? Oh, Gretzky never left either. Gretzky was a different situation. In 1998, there were no salary caps, right? So teams could have an owner could have felt, whoever the owner was of Edmonton in 1998, that I'm going to have to pay everything. owners now are protected to know that you don't have to give Connor McDavid a $300 million contract because you can't. There's a salary cap in the sport. And the ownership is different. Stamkos is not replacing Panarin. And why don't we pull up Chris's comment right there? Better two-way players result in not needing as many points from a single player.
He's
But
saying the defense.
I
He's saying his
need
defense is-
more than telling me you need better two-way players. Then I'm replacing a guy who's been in the Hart Trophy conversation.
So what I do kind of see what Chris is saying, that if he scores 3 goals but lets up 4, he's the reason why 4 goals are scored. He's a liability. That goal ratio.
Chris has 2 major gripes with Panarin.
Yes.
I don't want to speak for him, but I can summarize what they are. One is he feels he doesn't perform in the playoffs. But again, you had the overtime winner in Game 3 versus Carolina. You won the series in Game 7 overtime versus Pittsburgh. I don't want to hear that he doesn't perform in the playoffs.
We
That's
also
just
need
insane
these
to me.
points regular season just to make it to the playoffs. So that
True.
That is another.
Chris's other issue with Panarin is that he plays no defense. He might be correct on that. I don't watch it intently to tell you either way if he's wrong. He's probably right, Chris, if he's saying it and he's standing by, because Chris knows the game pretty well. But still, I'm not getting rid of him. But anyway,
But that's where Chris's argument stems from, is that if he's the reason why 4 goals are scored, his contributing 3 goals for that game, or 3 points for that game, the points are, if you remove that altogether, now you're not letting up as many points.
As James is saying on Instagram, Panarin has no physical aspect to his game. It's 100% true. But he's not that type of player. He's not out there to be physical. He's out there to get 120 points a game. I'm not putting Panarin out there to fight your enforcer when they're doing a line brawl versus the Devils in the beginning of the game. That's where my main man, Matt Rempe, is, right? That's where his use is.
Oh, so now we can have him.
No, and don't take it. Don't clip that either, by the way, because now I'm going to regret saying that. Which was actually
That's
done.
for my main man, Rempe.
That was done totally
sarcastically.
Yeah, that was sarcastically, but it won't. Okay. The audio won't.
The
know
clip.
this.
The clip won't know that you won't know
won't know that. Wonderful. Just what I need. So, all right. So we'll get into the Panarin stuff. We have a couple more weeks to go with Ranger preseason, and there will be plenty to talk about. The Panarin topic will be one of them. All right. Shifting gears now. I'm gonna say, because this is I'm not saying anything nice about us. We put out yesterday, season 6 is coming. What can we do better? What can we do worse? What should we do that we haven't done? Blah, yada, yada, yada. Give us your open feedback.
One, don't have the computer blow up.
Don't have the computer blow up before you start. Yeah. But where the most common thing that we got yesterday was that some people, it's fair to say, are not a fan when we cover the NFL. And I can understand why. We're going to go to the NFL for 5 minutes here to do weekly picks because they're back. But I want to explain why we cover the NFL, right? Because I feel like if you're unhappy about it, you should know why.
PSA.
A little PSA. We cover the NFL here because in the fall months, particularly September where we are, there's not a tremendous amount of New York Ranger stuff going on. Yes, it's coming back, and we're all trending in a direction of having the season back. But it's not always easy to cover 40 minutes of content, 45 minutes of content of the Rangers when they're not playing. And again, I don't ever really like to come here and talk about, my son discovered Uber Eats on my phone this summer and ordered Chick-fil-A every night, and I'm going to have to disable the app now. I don't want to do that. So we have to find content to fill the gaps, and that's where we go. So the NFL season is back this weekend. We're not going to get into, we're going to keep this really quick this week because we're already at the 40-minute mark. But we just, if you're new here, we pick 5 games every week with the spread. No freebies. We don't sit there and just pick teams to win because, we'll pick the team that's 16-point favorite. That wasn't difficult. We pick with the spread. We pick 5 games every week, so we either have winning or losing weeks. In the 5 years we've done it, 4 years, we've had winning records, so we made you free money. We've had 1 losing year, which I believe was 2 years ago. So if you listen to us, 4 of the 5 years you've made money. Congratulations. Go spend it on Powerball $1.1 billion tickets tonight. All right, so week 1, here are our week 1 picks for Mind Your Pucking Business. I'm going to regret it. This is my first pick of the year. I'm starting off with a
filthy?
bang. Nope, it is the New York Jets at home.
Whoa.
I like that they're getting points. I have a thing on week one. I say this every year. I like taking home teams that are underdogs in week one. I always do. The Jets should be motivated to literally destroy Aaron Rodgers. You shouldn't want to win this game. You should want to win by 50. You're home and you're getting points. I like the Jets plus 3 at home versus Pittsburgh. I like the Saints plus 6.5 at home versus the Cardinals. The Saints are not good, hence they're getting 6.5 at home. But I got news for you: the Cardinals aren't good either. I'm taking the Saints. That's a lot of points in the first game of a new head coach. Give me the Saints plus 6.5. I like the Falcons plus 2.5 at home versus the Bucs. Bijan Robinson hopefully gets going. I don't think the Bucs are great. Godwin is still out. They've got some issues there. Again, you're a home team getting points in week one, and you're almost covered into a field goal. Give me the Falcons plus 2.5 at home versus the Bucs. I like the Seahawks plus 2.5 at home versus the 49ers. The 49ers were not good last year. I think this spread is living off of the mirage of a couple years ago. The Seahawks, also new head coach, good receiving core out there. Give me the Seahawks plus 2.5 home against the 49ers. That is also a very, very good home crowd out there in the Northwest. And last, I'm taking with another home team, but not a dog. It is almost the pick 'em. I like the Bills minus 1.5 at home versus the Ravens. If the Buffalo Bills,
game.
if the Buffalo Bills don't do it here, right? If this is not the year for Buffalo, at what point? I mean, I feel bad. We know my wife is a Buffalo Bills fan. At what point is it just you just give up? And you have a chance, and it's a big game for them because there's, of course, a chance 18 weeks from now that the Bills and the Ravens have a similar record and the tiebreaker is coming down to head-to-head, and here's your head-to-head matchup. The Bills need to win Sunday. Bills minus 1.5. So I am going to take the Jets plus 3 at home versus Pittsburgh, the Saints plus 6.5 at home versus the Cardinals, the Falcons plus 2.5 at home versus the Bucs, the Seahawks plus 2.5 at home versus the 49ers, and the Bills minus 1.5 at home versus the Ravens. And I can see that some people on the chat, including that New York Ranger girl, do not like my Jets pick, but that is okay. We will see how that
I can
out.
live with that because that's going to be an intense game, and I can see that. The one I'm curious to why you didn't pick was the Cowboys-Eagles game.
It's a hard pick. It's 6.5, right?
7 points, 1 touchdown. The Cowboys aren't anything special. Thursday Night Football, they're going to win by like 14 points.
Yeah. And we could put up the Jenny loves Panarin and Josh Allen comments. That is my wife in a nutshell. She likes Artemi Panarin and Josh Allen, 2 players that seemingly cannot win a title.
So I will say this. I think this is the big year for the Bills to prove themselves. You're right. Every year they're in the semifinals here. So I do think this is the year that Kansas City takes a big dive.
I would agree that is
think
potential.
This is the first year that they're not, and like all eyes are on them, especially with the referee debacles and whatever conspiracies. I think there's gonna be a lot of eyes on them. They're not going to get away with these stupid penalties anymore, and you might see the decline of them.
Yep, it's possible.
Yeah,
we'll get into covering football, and again, I know you guys want us to do hockey all the time. I get it. 95% of what we do is hockey, but we do put the football, if you notice, this is the way we always
very end.
It's at the end. So that if you want to drop off, like we can see here in the studio, the live viewer count, normally when we switch over, it does drop. And we're aware of it. Like I get it, but we're not covering baseball. Don't worry. That we will never do. And the NBA, we do cover the Knicks a little bit here. I am a Knicks season ticket holder. I see the Let's Go Knicks comments in the YouTube chat. So we do cover the Knicks,
little updates
occasionally
at the end. Little updates.
They do share the garden with the Rangers. Before we go, I want to mention one thing. My brother has a friend from high school. Kind of, I've seen him through the years. I'll see him occasionally at maybe my niece or nephew's birthday parties. He has a younger brother who also I'll see occasionally through the years. Actually, same spot. Niece and nephew birthday parties. Huge Ranger fan family. Their dad, I used to talk growing up with actually Rangers. I mean, we're going back to like literally 1994, which was a good year. I wanted to mention their son, Trey Levine, who has CACNA 1A. I'm going to make sure I pronounce that right. CACNA 1A It is a genetic disorder, and we are trying to, and they're trying to raise some money via the GoFundMe platform, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, to support trace therapy equipment and medical fund. As the new equipment will, of course, I'm sure it's not cheap, will help lessen the burden on the family. So we are going to put up in our Instagram stories probably today. We should be able to get to.
Can you go to banners too on the right side? It's a website, right?
It is. But I didn't give them the website ahead of time.
Okay.
So, but I will put it up. We'll get it up there. We'll definitely get it up there. If you're a Ranger fan and you have some money to spare, I'm sure they agree that there is no money that is too much. There is no money that is too little. Every little bit helps. So we're trying to help this 3-year-old kid who I'm sure his father will ensure that he will grow up a Ranger fan. There will be no alternative. It would be like my kids. If you're not a Ranger fan, don't ask me what you want. I'm not asking what you want for dinner. You're just getting whatever's made. So we're going to put that up there. I wanted to mention that Trey Levine, if we can help support him in any way, shape, or form, we will put that GoFundMe up in our story. We'll take a couple last questions. What is the Rangers' record going to be this season? Impossible to tell. We have plenty of time to do predictions. I will give you my Ranger prediction, what I think is going to happen in the season in a couple weeks. Panarin will have how many points? That is another question we will take in a couple weeks.
105.
105. I would sign for 105. Well, he just gave his answer, actually. 40, 36, and 6. Panarin with 97 points. You know what? That record, I don't want to give away. I don't have like a set record in mind, but I have a feeling of where I think they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that 40, 36, and 6 talk. I think
that gets us a playoff stamp.
Can we pull up that Ranger girl's comment, please? Because there's a reason. She said last NFL thought it's going to be a Lions-Bills Super Bowl. I have on my show notes, which I didn't do, to go Super Bowl pick for the year, and it says in front of me Bills over Lions. So her and I are on the same boat.
Wow.
I don't know if she thinks the Bills are winning the Super Bowl or the Lions, but we do have the Super Bowl matchup. Similar, exact same.
Wow.
I have the Bills over the Lions, but I do have that mostly because my wife is a Bills fan and I'm tired. I feel bad for her. Like I get to a point where I like to work. We thank you guys very much for joining us. If you were watching the live feed today, we had some technical difficulties in episode 199 that has never appeared. There were a ton of you here in the beginning that were like waiting for us to start and we just couldn't get started. And we have an obligation to make sure we put out a show that you can hear correctly and all that stuff.
True.
I believe we have it fixed because we're 47 minutes into this
New
episode.
computer
And we're good.
Plugged in.
Oh, we're good. We're good. So next week, come back again. I assume it will be packed around here, especially as the season gets back in. October is always a very, very busy time of year around here with MYPB.
Absolutely.
The DMs start going wilder.
Yeah.
My daughter asked me this morning, actually, when I was driving her to school, she goes, "Dad, are you happy that it's back today?" And I was like, like it just means it's going to get really busy real quick. And she's like, "Dad, you get DMs all day. It can't be any worse." And I was like, "Abby, it'll get worse." We thank our sponsors, as always, the bamboozleproject.com as well as DraftKings. We thank them both for their sponsorship. Go check out the bamboozleproject.com. Use promo code MYPB. There is some special new gear on the website that has appeared over the summer. Go check that out. Some of it is actually sold out already, I should say, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Especially if you like purple.
Yeah, if you like purple. I think there are some other colors I was told was sold out. So if you want, go check it out. Again, we encourage you to get stuff while you see it in stock. Can't promise you how long they stay in stock, but we thank you guys for that. Yes, we want to say something?
We're also looking for the perfect food to eat during the game. So if you have any suggestions, please put them in the comments.
Oh, at MSG for food reviews?
Food reviews or places nearby that we can check
We'll have
out?
to get Allie, if that New York Ranger girl is still here, to do a food review. She actually, I believe, when I spoke to her over the summer, has season tickets for the season.
Nice.
So she will be there.
Yeah, so I'm not even talking about just MSG. We're just saying in general, you're watching the game. Maybe you want to take a takeout or something. We need some suggestions of great food that you can consume while watching the game.
Got it. And anyone who wants to talk food is always welcome in my book. We thank you for your listenership as always. Season number 6 off and running, and we will talk to you next week.